Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm going to be making Flamingo Meringue Pops. I'm going to be using the Italian meringue method today, but you are welcome to use whatever method of meringue that you would like to make. I'm going to first take my egg whites and I'm going to place them in my stand mixer here. Now, I like to leave these out in room temperature. I just find I get a really nice fluffy meringue when I do this, but you can honestly do it from cold as well. Now I'm going to add my coloring directly into the egg whites. You can add them into the sugar as well. I just add them into the egg whites because I can see it a little bit better how much color I'm putting in there. Now I'm just going to heat my sugar and my water to 244 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll notice that prior to it actually getting to that temperature, I do start whipping my egg whites till they're a little bit fluffy. And then once it reaches that temperature, I go ahead and I slowly pour in my sugar and my water. By the way, all of the exact ingredients plus the measurements are going to be listed down in the description box below. When I first started baking, I really worried about all the minute little details like how fast to pour that sugar syrup in. Honestly, it doesn't have to be at any particular speed. The reason that I do it slowly though is to prevent that sugar from splattering up at me because it is hot. So do be careful whenever you're working with hot sugar. Also, don't mind that pot of boiling water to the side. That is purely for cleanup purposes. And once you're done whipping it for 3 minutes, you'll get something that looks like that. Go ahead and fit your piping bag with a tip. And I'm actually just fitting this with a coupler first because I just want a rounded shape for the head of the flamingo. I found these great lollipop sticks, which are perfectly fine to put into the oven at the dollar store. And I love them because they're this nice pink color and it also came with white as well. Now I'm going to be adding on the rose portion of the body. And don't worry, I'm going to list all of the different tips that I'm using down in the description box below. This tip is just a straight petal tip, and I really like using it whenever I want to make the close rose option. And you can honestly do whatever type of flower that you want here. The whole main principle of this is just creating little rainbow arcs and going all the way around. I end up doing the next roses a little bit slightly different. Now I'm using a bit of a fancier leaf tip, as I like to call it. It's not really that fancy. It's just that it's the double V instead of the singular V. And that's just used to create the little feathers that come out of the flamingo's body. Now, if you ask me, I'm not a huge bird person, but this kind of looks like a mix between a swan and a flamingo. So I'm sure if you did this in white, you could play it off as a swan as well. Now, if you like lifting your flowers off of a flower nail, I highly suggest you do that instead. I personally just find it's always a mess when I do it that way, so I rather do it this way directly on the pan. Now I'm just using a round tip to create the beak, and I'm also going to add a little bit of a simple flower at the top of the head too. If you've never piped meringue on meringue, it's actually super satisfying because it doesn't move around or anything, and it feels really nice and smooth when you pipe. Now, a word of warning here, when you're adding sprinkles or things prior to the baking process, this does mean that you're going to have to turn your temperature down just a little bit more, which means that it's going to take a little bit longer to bake your meringue thoroughly so that it's nice and crisp through and through. So ordinarily, I would bake my meringue at around 195 degrees Fahrenheit, but I actually brought this right down to 180 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2 to 3 hours so that it would maintain that shininess of that sprinkle that I put on there, as well as maintain the color. Now I'm adding a little bit of luster dust mixed with some vodka for the details. So here is my trick to making sure that meringues stay nice and crisp. I always put a layer of cornstarch down in the bottom of a plastic container. Then I put down a piece of paper towel, and then I place my meringues in here. Now you might be wondering, well, what should I do if this is for an order? Well, this is completely based on my own anecdotal experiences. So definitely try this out before you send it out on an order or anything. But after I leave this in that container overnight, I find that all of that extra moisture, if there is any, is fully absorbed. So even when I place these on cakes, it doesn't go soggy. Now let's get into the pricing. So one thing that I do struggle with when I am pricing these is the fact that it literally is just sugar and egg whites. It's not like a cookie where there's multiple ingredients. However, work still goes into these, and there is a very specific technique for these, especially because these are roses, which are a little bit more complicated. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!